The next problem is how to smooth and shape that wood. It's almost impossible to cut it because it wants to cut on the grain. And so to try to smooth and shape that wood, you have to file it or rasp it or machine it. Well, it's tough when it's right up against the trigger guard. So you gotta tread lightly, my friend. And I'm going to try to take this out a little bit at a time to where it doesn't actually follow the grain. But if I cut cross grain, it works better. The problem is trying to cut cross grain against that metal. And I may have to just take that trigger guard back out, as much trouble as it was to get in. I may have to just take it back out. Cross grain gives you a different dynamic, so to speak. You can, if you cut with the grain, then it wants to follow that wavy pattern. If you cut across the grain, it doesn't. It allows you to get away with it. I may actually have to just pull that trigger guard back out of there, as bad as I hate to. I think what I'm going to do is take this other side on this side of the trigger guard off while I'm here. If you can see that. I'm cutting away from the metal, which is a whole lot easier than cutting toward it. Now there's a curve right in here where the trigger guard starts to round up. I'm going to leave that curve, and I'm going to leave it high here and low there, and I'll show you why later. I'm going to do a little bit of artistic sculpting right there. It's a pretty flare too. It's a real nice touch. Now I'll blend this pistol grip into that surface. There's a hump right there I got to take off. I just did this while I could get to it, but now I've got to blend it into there. Now you can see I've still got a hump right there. I got one on this side too. I'm going to go straight from here to here when I pull this off. Alright, you can see where this rises up. That's where the trigger guard was keeping me from getting to it. Actually, now that that metal is not in my way, I'm going to file this. I can get it smoother with a file blade cross grain. Alright, with the light on it, straight on it. The light is right here, coming straight down. Can't see the shadows. But if you put the light over here, where the shadows wash across, you can see where I chiseled those little marks right there. Those are my chisel marks, where I came in from this side and cut the wood that way. I came in from this side and cut the wood that way. You can see those little chisel marks right there. Now I rasped this down that way and that way on a slant. You can see it's got a slant to it. It tapers off. So I got rid of this hump that was here on both sides. But I left these marks because that's my gauge. That lets me know how far I am off the metal. And I left these little humps right here, and I'll get to that later. But this curve is critical. That little curve is going to be pretty. So what I'm doing now is taking a file, a metal file actually, and I'm taking this down smoother because this is so tight. This fiddleback in here is so tight. I've got to use something besides cutting. I've got to actually sand and file. I can't cut that. If I cut it, it's going to chatter and it's going to have gouges everywhere and it's going to look terrible. What I've done is smoothed down all my wood to all my metal edges. This trapdoor has got a curved bottom. And so what I've done is just carried that curve, extended that curve with the wood on both sides. I've just rolled it off. So this trapdoor is actually sitting in a little pocket. When you release it, you can see down inside there's a little inset, a little tiny recess. So when that thing sits down, its edges, the metal edges, are protected by the wood. Now I'm going to start working on the top, on the side, on the upper edge of the side, and then I'm going to bring it around to the bottom. Before I start shaping, I'm going to drop the rifle back in there and see what really needs to be shaped, how it needs to be shaped. Alright, from about here to here, I'm going to leave it just a little tiny bit of an oval side, partly because this bolt release, this Mauser type bolt release, just comes straight up. So I'm not going to round it too much. When I get out in here, I'm going to start tapering it off more and bring this in quite tight. That's too slow. This is the view that I see. Symmetry. This little flat right here, it's got to be the same size on both sides. It's got to grow the same amount on both sides where it transitions into the receiver. It's got to be the same width here as here. Of course, this is asymmetrical. You got your bullet ejection port right in here. But that, where that tapers from receiver to wrist, see how that goes smooth in, both sides, smooths in. That transition, it's downright sexy. I mean, you just gotta call it what it is. That's the view that I'm seeing it from. I can't put the camera here without a GoPro, and that'll probably bounce a lot. So that gives you an idea of where how I'm getting there. Now, there's very little curve on this outside. This is a Mauser receiver. Like I said, a Mauser is about 1/8 of an inch in diameter bigger than Winchesters and Remingtons. They're just fat across here and back here. They're just big. That's the reason they're so desirable for high-powered rifles. Is they are big and they are strong, super strong, and they got an extractor that'll pull a dozer out of a mud hole. Alright, I'm not positive I'm done with this top, but I'm close. And I'm not going to do a whole lot of smoothing and sanding because I may not be done shaping. I'm going to flip it over and work on the bottom. Well, thanks for choosing to spend your time here with me today. I hope you've enjoyed this program. I'll try to post a new segment each weekend. In addition, if you'd like to read about a stock that I made and then it took a 20-foot free fall, click on the link at the bottom of this page. It's called The Broken Gun. It's a story I wrote a few years ago about my two boys. Sometimes life's hard and things get broken. Now and then we get a chance to fix them. I'm so grateful for the opportunity I had to repair this broken stock. It led to a restoration that I never could have imagined. As always, if you like this video, please click the like button and share this with your friends. Have a great day.